All right. Good morning, Mike Ritzema here with i3 Business Solutions, along with Tim Nass and Grace Shim. We're going to get into Teams, our coronavirus edition, training and orientation. This week, we're going to go through planner and shifts. Planner and shifts. So let's get going. And I'll keep this short, but I like to go on this rant because some of us love the new technology. It's wonderful, but let's pause and remember, what are we trying to accomplish at business? Why do we implement or use this stuff? And that is to improve productivity and efficiency, improve profitability or sustainability, and then manage risk. And I'll go into my standard rant about islands. And, you know, I always say that technology is easy and Teams works, Zoom works, GoToMeeting works. I mean, this technology works, but the people and the process changes are the challenge. I'm going to add in this week that there's no right or wrong way to use technology, especially Microsoft products, from Word to Excel to PowerPoint to Planner to shared files on a server. What's the right way to do it? And many different ways to do it, to use these technologies, no right or wrong way. But there is one constant you're going to hear from me, and that is, let's avoid islands of information. What do I consider an island of information? Well, I'm using Zoom here. I'm using Dropbox here. I'm using Slack for project management. I'm using a different email system. I've got a half a dozen logins and a half a dozen opportunities for breach and mistakes and errors. So certainly with Office 365, we bring this together. We start to eliminate islands of information. The less islands we can have in our company, our ERP, DRP, our professional services or accounting system is one central repository of information, and then Office 365 is another. Another one might be payroll, ADP, paychecks is another repository of information, but the less I have, the better. The more I can integrate, the better. So then we have generations in our companies. We've got the boomers, we've got the millennials, we've got the Xers, and people like to interact with technology in different ways. I've got people at i3 here that never use a desktop client like Outlook. They use a browser. Why would you use anything else? Others go to their cell phone all the time. They don't have any reason to use a browser if they have to. So Microsoft is a leader. You know, Microsoft has been called a second generation, a second release company. And when they come out with something, the second or third release, it becomes very powerful. And they're in the upper quadrant for unified communication as a service from Gartner, from Forrester. These are powerful products in Office 365. And so today we're going to talk about Planner a little bit, and let's just reiterate that Office 365 is built on a foundation called SharePoint, and I say that Teams is the graphical user interface to all of that. It starts bringing it together. Is there a right or wrong way to use SharePoint, to use Office 365 Teams? Well, there's certainly governance and etiquette, and we certainly want to roll it out so that it's productive as it moves forward. But let's talk about Planner. I'm going to flip over to my home site here and just refresh your memory that we go back 7-8 years at i3 with our SharePoint implementation with the all team, the leadership management team, we call it the impact team, the sales team, service team, finance team. And then for every team we set up, for every site we set up, a notebook, and then document libraries. And then certainly in Office 365, there's all these apps. Where do I start? What do I do? Well, that depends on the business application. Today, we're going to be talking about Planner, way down here, this Planner product. And so at i3, we don't do a lot with Planner because our ERP system has a project module, and the way we work, we just don't use extensive project plans. But Planner is like Project Lite, and it's included in many of the licensing plans for Office 365. If anybody out there has used Project from Microsoft, which is very expensive and just a thorough and complete project management for large organizations with multiple tasks, Project is big and wide, but Planner is great for small business, and it's phenomenal for 1 to 6 month projects that I just want to assign tasks, move through, and do that. So let's go over to Teams, and I'll show you how we're using Planner at i3 Business Solutions. So we're coming into our team site. I want to pause as we go into this and say that on the side here, what I did is added a couple icons. Some of you might not have Planner icon or the OneNote icon on your desktop. How do you do that? You add more apps. And here's the options. Well, I added Planner and OneNote to my desktop. If I go into OneNote, all the OneNotes that I have are in here. And I can see all the OneNotes that I have access to here, which is identical to what I have on my desktop in OneNote and very similar to what's in the Teams. Same thing with Planner. We just looked at the cloud version of Planner, and here is the Planner version of Planner inside of Teams. So let's go to the Teams, and let's go to the leadership team, the impact team. I'm going to jump up to general and refresh your memory that the way we lay this out is we've got the OneNote notebook that you just saw in the cloud, and we've got our operational and leadership team document libraries here in the general team. Now we created a channel called, it's a Planner channel, and so we created the channel called Traction Impact Team Meeting. It's an L10 meeting. And my goodness, we put the same thing in here. We put the notebook, the OneNote notebook, we put the leadership team documents and the management team documents in here. So they all point to the same thing, they point to the cloud. And so what we did, some of you using Traction, Gino Wickman's Traction to run your organization. Some of us have used, and i3 did for years, used the Rockefeller Habits to run our business. But I'm going to give you a look at our L10 meeting that we hold on a weekly basis. And yes, this is real information. We run a real business here, and we have the same kind of rocks or tasks or goals in front of us, from finance to people to data and so on. So these are some of the things we're working on. Again, an L10 meeting, a way to manage how we move through the year, how we manage meetings at i3 on a weekly basis, on a quarterly and an annual basis. Now, Planner defaults to group by bucket. What we did is said we're going to lay this out. We're going to lay it out by labels for our weekly meetings. And I'm just going to refresh again that there's no right or wrong way. This is a way that we can use Office 365 to run a meeting. I could run a meeting from a Word document. I could put the notes in the calendar meeting. I can put it on a shared drive. I can run the whole meeting in Gazelles or Traction, the weekly, quarterly meetings for whatever, the finance meeting, the service meeting, the sales meeting. I can run it in OneNote. This is a way to do it in Planner. And so if you're familiar with Traction, then you want to know who attended the meeting. We're going to do a little segue. Hey, how you doing? We're going to go through our scorecard. In this case, our scorecard is in a product called BrightGauge, reaches right into our database. And so we go and review our metrics and performance. We can talk about people headlines, what's going on internally at i3, what's going on at customers. And then at the end, we rate the meeting. So this is kind of the agenda. There's a few more parts to the agenda, and that is rocks. We see here that we've got annual rocks. That's a problem. Can I filter that down and just get to the quarterly rocks? Yes, those are in buckets. So I'll filter down, and now I'm looking at only quarterly rocks. So I'll clear that filter. And then in Traction, again, we IDS, we go through issues. What are things we want to work on as a team and decide on? And we can IDS that. And then we have to-dos, tasks assigned to individuals. Now, the way Planner works is with tasks, and these tasks can be moved around. So when I'm going to go to a bucket view here, grab a task, and I can just slide this task around from location to location. And when you slide the task, it moves to a different location. So that's the way this thing's built. You can peg it by tying a label to it. And here I am looking at labels. And again, if you use Traction or have read the book, you're familiar with a rock, an issue, a to-do, a people headline, and then we added a bonus in team review. So the universal here is the task, and it is a utility placeholder for how you run your project or how you run your plan. So I can view these tasks in all different ways. I can say what's assigned to Mike Ritzema, and every task assigned to Mike Ritzema is here. I can look at the tasks by progress. Is it been started yet? Is it in progress? Is it done? I can look at tasks by due date. When's it scheduled to be done? Is it overdue? Yeah, is it late? Is it due tomorrow, next week, future? And I can look at it by labels, and then certainly I can look at it by bucket. And then we can put priority on it also. So it's a project management tool, a planning system, where we're in the board view right now. I'll go back to the label view. The way we run our meetings, past meetings are completed. And so the agenda for the meetings are completed, but the rocks remain for the quarter unless they're completed. Do I have any completed rocks? And that answer is not right now, because we just moved from a different system. Yes, it's true. We moved from a different system called Traction Tools, was an island of information. I railed against it and said, we're done with it. We're going to move this inside of our universal system here called Office 365. I'm going to eliminate an island. So completed issues here, completed. So that's the board view. And then the chart view gives you the ability to look at this project, this plan, assuming you're building a new warehouse, or you're changing your office configuration, this project you're working on, you're implementing a new financial system. So this gives you different views: status, bucket, priority, and assigned members on how the project's going, and then the schedule. Are we on track for completing tasks? A Gantt chart type of view. So that's a high level on Planner, a powerful tool for organizing. Is it perfect? And is it easy to use? And are people going to embrace it and say, oh boy, this is great, I get to change and use this instead of OneNote, or instead of a Word document, or instead of our other system? No, I don't think they are. But can it eliminate islands of information, integrate to Outlook, to-dos, tasks in Office, and give you more visibility? Yes, it can. I'm going to flip back to the PowerPoint now and say we've got 3 slides here we can send you on how to create a plan in Planner and how to use Planner effectively. And I'm going to turn it over to Tim, see if you've got anything to add to Planner, release control here, and anything more on Planner, Tim, and then you're going to get into shifts, I think.
Well, good morning. Thanks everybody for joining, and I think should be switching over here in a minute. As far as the Planner, Mike, you've been doing a great job using it. I think you did a great job of actually showing a good portion of the items that are out there. But yeah. Oh, sorry. Here. But anyway, I'm sorry, the video's not working. Let's go right into what I'm going to be introducing you guys to is a little bit about Teams. Teams Shifts, which is a scheduling program that can be used to schedule appointments. I think we got that up there live now a minute. Okay. Okay, Shifts is a scheduling program. It's another add-on app, much like Planner. It'll come up here on the left-hand side of the apps options. Here we have Shifts, and when I go into it, the thing about Shifts is when you're scheduling, it allows you to do a schedule one per team that you have. So I'm going to kind of walk you through actually creating one of these. So when we go in, if you go in and set, I'm going to say that I want to create a new schedule. And let's take the support team, I believe, and create a new schedule for them. And we're going to see that setting the time zone to the Eastern, and we're going to set it for Detroit and confirm that. So what happens is automatically any of the users who are in the support team will be a part of being able to add people to the schedule. So right off the bat, kind of going off the top here, we're viewing just the schedule itself right now. And you can create group schedules. So there can be multiple schedules. So let's say, for instance, if on the first one, I just want to call this the weekly schedule. So this would be how generally we would schedule for the week. And then also if I add who's going to be in that schedule for the weekly members, I might put, let's put in Grace. And I'm also going to put in, let's put in Jerry as well. And I'll put myself in there. Add. And notice these are all being added as members. I'm actually managing the team. If you find that somebody isn't in the group, you can always go back to managing the team and you can add people to the team so they can be part of the schedule, but they do have to be a member of that team first. So as I add them, they'll show that they show the members here. And what we can do now is say, for instance, if I want to schedule Grace for the week, I can go ahead and go in here and say I want to add a new shift for her. And we'll say that that we work 7 in the morning and to 6 at night. And I'm just going to call this the daily schedule, so everybody knows what time this is. We can add an unpaid break to it if we want to. So let's say we got 60 minutes for lunch. You can add in some shift notes here, the kind of information you want to make sure that she knows about that schedule. You can also add in activities, things to remind them of that they're going to be doing during the day. So say, for instance, let's say we want to check mail at the post box. Let's say that we do that at 1 every day. And then just indicates whether that's going to be a paid activity or an unpaid activity in the system. And if I say done, all right, and then that would save the schedule. Now at this point, being the manager of it, it's kind of sitting waiting to be actually shared with everybody and posted out there. But I'm gonna finish the schedule for this week. One thing you can do is you can take that schedule from that day and I can copy it, and then I can paste it for the rest of the week if that's how that schedule is going to be. And then she will show that all of the schedule is there. And I could do again the same thing. If that's the same schedule I want to use for, say, Jerry, I can say copy, and I can copy here and put everything across here. I do that. And paste it in for the week. So now we have the schedule. If I were to, let's go ahead and switch over to Grace for a minute, show you what Grace's would look like. If we go back in. And we can show it up, although it is reminding me the one thing I did miss was actually sharing that schedule out. Once you get the schedule and you're set with it, you're going to actually share it out to the team. And so it'll show that there are, at this point, 12 assignments out there. Wants to know who I want to send those notifications to. At this point, I'm going to say it's going to go to the affected team themselves. And we go ahead and share that out. So then, if I did actually get that right this time, I should be able to go back, and if I refresh the screen, we should be able to see Grace's schedule here. Now, a couple things that are interesting about this. It also comes with a mobile app that you can put on each person's machine, which then gives you the option to actually clock in and set time. And view what your schedule is. And also there are a few other options in here, some other options as far as being able to request time off or ask somebody to take a shift for you. There's quite a few different options that you get with the mobile option, and I'll show you that as well. So you see now it does show her schedule here for those days. And let's say, for instance, right now the view is month. I'm going to change this to the week. And then we'll go back to the actual week that's going on now.
I think it was April, maybe, Tim.
Oh, did I go back too far?
I don't know.
Sure did. Yeah, I did. Thanks. Let's go. That was.
So Tim, while it's updating questions, so this syncs with Outlook and is a way to lay out shifts and tasks for team members.
Yep, exactly. Once it's applied, that schedule does show up in your Exchange calendar as well. What the schedule is here. Yep. So say, for instance, if Grace wanted to take off Friday, one of the options you have is you can click on a day and you can ask to swap with somebody or offer. You can see if you want to offer to take somebody else's shift. So I want to offer, say, this shift, and I can decide what the member is that I want to put that to. So let's say that we want to go to Fenno here. Except it's not allowing me because that person's actually not in there. But what I did want to show you here is if you go to time off, you can request time off in the future. So I can either say I want to take that day off the 29th, or if I want to go out farther, I can go ahead and set a day. Maybe I want to go for a couple days. Reason for his vacation, I can add a note here. That request will go to the manager to let them know that I'm looking to take those days off. So if I switch back here real quick. This should be able to show us that request for the time off, and I'll give you a view of what the actual mobile device looks like here in just a second. So as the manager, you got a few more options up here at the top. One showing the schedule, Another one also is showing requests. So I can see that Grace is requesting that day off. I can go ahead and hit deny or approve that one. I'm going to say, let's just approve it. We're all good. And go from there. Let me, if I show you a couple different screens. This is, so you can download the app. It actually shows right up in Teams as one of the options that's out there. And it will give you an option where it will show you, say, for instance, the schedule that you have, being able to request time off, any available open shifts, if it's something where you're sharing multiple open shifts out there for other people. And then there is also an option in there to go ahead and clock in time. There's a clocking in time, which actually can use your GPS so that, for instance, if it's a location that each user needs to be at when they're clocking in, it can use the phone to make sure that that person is actually, within that range when they actually say they're clocking in and when they're clocking out. And then also here, like I said, we can record shift time and break time, and I think that was the main part of that there as well. So I mean, it's not a fully robust scheduling shifts, but it does do a pretty decent job of actually showing, being able to schedule out many weeks. If I do here, if I go to month view, I can see more, and let's just go into part of May. And again, the same thing here. If the schedule for this person is always going to continue, I can go ahead and copy and paste and move that into more. There is an option also to say that for some reason, if on the first I'm going to need an extra person, I can add an open shift out here and just say that we need, let's call it extra person for the day. And let's just say that we need them from 7 in the morning till 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And again, we can add activities if we want to what's going to need to happen. And we just go ahead and hit save. And then it's still, like I said, it's still at this point a draft. So I can go ahead and tell it that I want to share this whole schedule with the team again. At this point, you can either say, I can let the whole team know about it because I want to make sure that everybody knows that there is an open shift for that day, and go ahead and share it out there. Just like that. And let me view real quick. I'll give you a view of the settings. Just the main settings for the manager who's doing it. Support time. You can decide when the start of your week is going to be. When you copy shifts, there's options for whether you want to copy all the activities. And then also the options of whether people can open, if they can allow employees to view and request these open shifts on the schedule as well. These are also the reasons for taking time off. Requests can also be modified to different options. And then again, down here, when you set up the time clock, which can be used with the mobile app, right down here, this option is you set it up here and you can set up what your GPS coordinates are going to be. So you know where that location is from. And that's about kind of the outline of shifts itself. Mike, do you have any thoughts, questions?
Yeah, very powerful application. Seems like be great for restaurants, be great for service organizations, everything from lawn care to cleaning to help desks. Any other applications you're familiar with, Tim?
Absolutely. No, those are great options for it. One of the things is, like I said, it's very powerful right now. There is still quite a bit of stuff that's lacking in some areas, but one of the things that Microsoft is rolling out with it is Microsoft has what's called the Graph API, which is the ability to basically pull any data from all of the different applications that are out there in Teams. So real quickly, we're going to be able to modify a lot of that data and find different ways of being able to use it, automate the schedules and set them up. So something that we're going to be seeing here in the future coming up here pretty quick.
Beautiful. Thank
you. Mm-hmm. All right. And I think that's going to be it for shifts at the moment.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Tim.
You bet.
That was enlightening to me. Just going to wrap up here at 11:30 and remind you that some of us that come from a hierarchical world of shared files and folders and subfolders and documents in Office 365, we move to search. So yes, we organize it and set it up, but I encourage you to use the search feature in everything from OneNote to shared documents search, which implies that you use very descriptive names for your documents and files and so on, even though we're searching inside the content of the documents also. So that's it, I3, we're trying to help you integrate technology to accelerate business results. If you'd like a quick start guide for Teams, email or call any of us here, Tim, Grace, or me, and we'll get that to you. Thanks for joining us. Next week, we're gonna loop back to chat, meetings, Teams, channels, and an overview of Teams and continue our conversation. If you would like us to cover a specific topic more deeply, email us or call us. Thanks for joining us for our coronavirus edition of Office 365 and